Perfect. Hi, everyone. Rachel Kalishaw, Director of AI Activation at MovableInk. AI Activation, what is she, charging up the robots? No, in all seriousness, I'm helping launch and scale our new AI-driven personalization engine that I'm here to tell you about, but more importantly, I'm here to challenge your way of thinking about your email program. I want to philosophically change the way that you and your team think about email day in and day out. And I'm sure you're wondering, is she qualified to do so? So prior to joining MovableInk, I was on the client side at Neiman Marcus, a luxury retailer, where I spent 6 years in a variety of email and CRM roles, so I am intimately familiar with the challenges that you all face today. So let's see if I can do it. And we'll start with this book, Think Again by Adam Grant. Show of hands, has anyone read this? Maybe, a few. So Adam Grant is an organizational psychologist, author, podcaster. He's great. I definitely recommend you check him out. But he opens the book with this quote, that progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. George Bernard Shaw. And we all want to make progress, right? That's why we're here, besides going to the beach. So in order to make progress, you have to change your mind. Easy enough. Actually, it's not, right? Changing our minds is difficult. And he says, we often prefer the ease of hanging on to old views over the difficulty of grappling with new ones. Cognitive laziness, he calls it. Ouch. So how do we overcome that? By unlearning and rethinking. He also says that the accelerating pace of change means that we need to question our beliefs more readily than ever before. And I'm sure we all feel this, right? A lot of change has happened over the last several months. I mean, think about what we've been talking about all morning. Do I even need to say it? AI. It's everywhere. But as a marketer, what does it mean for me and my business? How can I practically apply this to what my teams are doing day in and day out? And like I said, I'll tell you, but first, we have to rethink. And rethinking is not just an individual skill. It is a collective capability, and it depends on the organization's culture. So how do we go about changing culture? Cultures are often centered around guiding documents, principles, values, closely held beliefs that we all adhere to. So for our subculture, that's the email calendar. So let's orient ourselves. This is a 5-day span. We have an AM and PM send. These colorful blocks represent a number of different categories of our business. And as you can see, there's a number of categories going out on any given time, right? So we're doing some segmentation. Hopefully this all looks familiar. I know not everyone's retail, but hopefully this applies across the verticals. So I'll let you in on a little awakening I had while at Neiman's, that the majority of these dates are arbitrary. Why? Because my team selected them. Men's spring fashion, 4/17. Women's blouses, 4/20. Are those really the only days these emails can go out? Besides key promotions or exclusive product launches, the majority of the calendar is flexible. My team had a process of slotting emails. Shoes gets 10, handbags gets 5. And we play Tetris on placing this amongst the calendar for the entire month. And there was the inevitable influx of additional requests from merchants and business units on top of the inevitable last-minute changes. I hear some laughs. You feel that pain. There's a lot of last-minute changes, right? Photography retouches, product hasn't hit the site yet, inventory thresholds, et cetera. And so one thing moves, we move another to replace it, and then all day your team is just remixing the calendar like we're DJs. So besides the wasted time and effort, it's not even a great customer experience. Beauty skincare must-haves, 1 p.m. on Tuesday. What about the 80 to 90% of customers that don't open that email? They're just never gonna see it? Maybe we do a manual redeploy, but most likely it's never going out again. If you don't believe me, here's another example, right, of that missed opportunity. Here's an email going out full file to 5 million, 10% open rate, keeping it simple, 500,000 people saw it, right? Maybe we do the manual redeploy, maybe we don't. Versus, what if this hero lived in a library of content with 50 other heroes and had a lifespan of 60 days? And so there was automated redeploys to customers who didn't engage. They were going to attempt at re-engaging again with a new subject line. We're reaching new customers on file or customers that were trying to graduate into new categories. So now we've tripled the reach of this one piece of creative. So let's stop doing this and start doing this. Unlearning, rip it up. Does anyone have an email calendar handy? Anyone have a printout? No? All right, I see someone's notes over here, so apologies. We are unlearning. And so how do we do that? We're gonna begin rethinking. And we're gonna start with decoupling campaign from creative. Did she say conscious uncoupling? No, but it's kind of like it, right? It's amicable. We are decoupling campaign, i.e. the sender deployment, from creative. And we're gonna do this by separating it into 3 buckets. So current state, remember that calendar that we just ripped up? We have an AM and PM send, 6 a.m. and 1 p.m. So let's go ahead and schedule those. And for simplicity's sake, it's going full file, right? We're setting send time and frequency personalization aside. Separate from that, we will select from a template that's made up of various content blocks and guardrails. In this case, we have a block with varying content eligibility for editorial, promo, maybe a mix of both. We have a loyalty module down at the bottom. Also within this template, we have the hero driving the subject line. So in this case, handbag new arrivals. But if that hero were to be men's suits, you can see how the subject line changed. And it's a promotion, so the applicable disclaimer is rendering in the bottom as well. And you might be thinking, well, hold up. I don't want the machine deciding everything, and that's where I say it's the marketer and machine, right? There are a combination of decisions that each are making and guardrails that you can put in place to hold these checks and balances. So we call them prohibitive pairings, making sure that certain products or categories are not shown next to one another, or maybe even next to a promotion. At Neiman's, we called these our fancy friends, right, that we had to monitor. And it was a lot to QA for our email, our merchant, and our creative teams. But amazing when you have a template framework that is doing all of that for you. And so our last variable, again, is creative. So entirely separate from scheduling your campaign, selecting your template, you manage a creative library. And this is comprised of assets, subject line, pre-header, disclaimer, tags, everything that you need, and a lifespan associated with that content. Again, going back to 60 days. And so with this content, you want to load up the library, right? So if we have 50 different heroes in the library, we have 50 different subject lines in the inbox, right? This is very different than how we think about having to do segmentation, maybe controlling for dynamic content, but how do we actually impact that inbox experience as well? So here's a look at how this all comes together, right? Here's tomorrow's 6 a.m. send. You can see no one is getting the same thing. We have the hero driven by AI, but we also have a secondary placement that maybe it's driven by AI, but maybe it's segmentation-based, rules-based, waterfall. Maybe core MovableInk is populating product recs or store locator. Again, going back to that machine and marketer, you get to make decisions within your template of what the AI is driving versus others. In that men's denim email, it needs photography retouching. We're not worried about it, right? Because we have plenty of other content going out tomorrow. So it's not going to disrupt our everyday flow. So we've gone through, we've broken it all apart. You've seen the setup, you've seen the output, but who or what is driving the decisioning? The AI. So now that the transformation is complete, right, we are rethinking our way of working. Let's dive into the AI. DaVinci is based on a complex mathematics called hyperbolic geometry, and I'm not going to ruin your lunch, so we're not going to get into that. We can discuss in more detail, but what I do want to share is that it draws from a number of data sources. It's mapping the ideal customer journey, and it's ultimately trying to maximize both short and long-term revenue. And I'll show you how. So in this customer scenario, to orient ourselves on this chart, the emails the customer is getting are in red. Their purchases are represented in light blue, and the ideal purchases are represented in green. So if we were to take a reinforcement strategy, right? You've exhibited a behavior, a browse, a cart, a purchase. We want to show you content that reflects that. This is what it would look like, right? This customer happens to buy a lot in shoes, so we're going to send them shoes emails. Effective, but limiting if that was your only strategy. How about a content optimization strategy where we've done a lot of A/B testing and we happen to find that handbag emails resonate with the majority of the audience? In this case, we're also sending this customer some handbag emails. But what if we combine these two with purposeful discovery, right? So trying to get this customer to graduate into dresses, denim, and beauty, and doing it at the optimal time, but also with high-performing content. And why do we know what high-performing content? Because again, we're running that content optimization model as well. The model is not only selecting what you should see, but making sure that we're doing so with something that we see is effective, right? We've done testing and we see that it's converting well for the rest of the audience. So this is how we get to that long-term play, right? Whereas again, the reinforcement, the content optimization, we're converting you today. That purposeful discovery is how we graduate you into new categories into the future. And ultimately, it's what we're going after, right? Customer lifetime value. That's what we're trying to achieve with our email program. Does it work? You betcha. So here is LL Bean. They experienced a lot of the legacy issues that I detailed in the beginning regarding their workflow. They were also challenged with redefining their brand. Sales were dipping pre-pandemic, but COVID gave them a new wave of outdoor enthusiasts. And so DaVinci was actually able to help them reduce the reliance on promotion, graduate customers into those new categories that they might not have been aware of and been shopping previously, as well as automating their workflow. And you can see it through the KPIs. These are annual metrics, right? Average 20% lifts across key KPIs, over billions of sends. We're talking their batch program. We're not just talking one-off testing and campaigns. Here's another example from a luxury retailer. So similarly, saw a lot of success. They moved away from a primarily segmented-driven approach, right? That they were able to adopt DaVinci, realize those operational efficiencies and workflow gains. And they're actually doing something really unique. You can see DaVinci is powering the hero content. So on the far left, the blazer, but core MovableInk is pulling in the products below it, products from the site that are in stock. Maybe we're pulling in ratings, reviews, and all the additional details, the fun stuff that MovableInk can pull in and help personalize. On the right, we're doing it with logos, so we're doing it at the brand level even. But this is an example of content decisioning and content generation working together. And you can imagine how powerful this combination becomes over time. Again, very strong performance lifts for them as well. So with that, are you ready to rethink your email program with DaVinci? Thank you again for the time. Please come find Greg and I. We'll be here till Saturday. Add us on LinkedIn. We'd love to chat about piloting DaVinci for your business. So thank you.